nowadays they call it a life hack, right? So life hack from me to you is to keep an entrenching tool in the back of your car. This is Albino. I'm Russell, your host here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. And we're here on Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube as well. So be sure to check us out on YouTube. That's Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube, where you can watch us streaming live in HD, as the Brits like to say. Yeah, HD, actually. You can watch us streaming live in HD. And here's a fun trick that I found out on YouTube on your phone. Something that I discovered not too long ago that I didn't even think about. And I like to think that I'm pretty tech savvy, but I didn't even think about this. You can change the quality on YouTube, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me open up a video here real quick on YouTube. In fact, why don't I watch our stream? So I'm going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to search for Hot News Talk Radio, which is easy because that actually is it's auto-correcting to that on my phone because I search for it so dang much. All right, there's our channel, Hot News Talk Radio, and I can actually watch our stream live right now. And it's loading. There she is. And it's really weird to look at myself doing something that I'm doing right now. So what you're going to see when you're on YouTube, on your YouTube app on your phone, you're going to see some options. You're going to see a down arrow on the lefternmost side when you're tapping on the screen. If you tap on the video, you'll get some options, right? You'll see the pause thing, you'll see full screen, and you'll see a downward arrow in the upper left-hand corner. Now, in the middle, you'll see 3 bars with a plus sign. That's to add stuff to a playlist. You'll see an arrow that's sort of pointing outward. That's for sharing. You might see a square with sort of the Wi-Fi symbol in the corner. That's for Chromecast. Now, what we're looking at, though, is the 3 dots in the right-hand upper corner. Okay, so I'm going to tap on that, and I get some options. So I get captions, quality, and report. Now, because this is a live stream, I can't really do anything with the quality, and you shouldn't report us, and we don't have captions. But normally, on a normal video, you would actually be able to adjust the quality settings. So that can help you out with, say, your data connection. If you don't want to pay as much for streaming on your data connection, you can actually adjust the settings to a lower quality setting so that you don't have to pay as much for streaming, which is always a little bit nice. So let me go to an actual video that's not a live stream because you can't really adjust the quality on a live stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit those 3 dots in the upper right hand corner. There's a gear that says quality, and now I have options. A little options box pops up. It has 360p, 480p, 720p, and I have 144 and 240. What that refers to is the pixel density, right? So 360p means that it's 360 pixels across. 480 means that it's 480 pixels across. And 720 means that it's 720 pixels across. Pretty easy stuff. And some videos will have 1080, but not a whole lot on mobile. So that's a tip that you can use to get your better quality on your phone or worse quality on your phone if you're trying to save battery power or if you're trying to save some money when you're live streaming on the go on your mobile data connection. Because I know not all of us have an unlimited data connection, actually. A lot of us don't, believe it or not. I don't, actually. I have, believe it or not, one of the more limited, what's the word? Data connections. I have, get this, you're going to love this. I have 100 megabytes a month in my mobile data connection on 4G. 100 megabytes a month. Why? Because I'm poor. No, actually, because I don't have any real reason to have a higher data connection than that right now. Now, when we start doing cool, fancy stuff like reporting on the road and all sorts of other fun things, I'll probably want a better data connection. But as it is right now, I'm paying $19 a month for my mobile plan. And here's how I did that. So there are a lot of carriers out there, right? And now I want to keep in mind, this is not going to work for everybody, okay? This method is not going to work for everybody, but especially if you're in a family, but it works for me. So you're going to want to compare prices yourself, but this is what I do. And you can do this with a lot of different carriers, and they're all different. So it's going to be kind of confusing. But I'll give you the tips for what I use, which is Ultra. And I'm not being paid by Ultra by any means, and you don't have to use Ultra. There's lots of other services out there. There's Page Plus. My dad uses that. He likes it a lot. Straight Talk, I think, is from Walmart, I'm going to say. And there's TrackPhone, which actually I don't like TrackPhone nearly as much because it goes based on minutes. And I hate the minute system. That's just stupid to me. It's antiquated, especially because who cares about minutes these days? It's all VoIP. So big whoop, extra minutes. That's just a silly way to charge you more money. So I don't bother with the whole minute system. That's just ridiculous. Charging per minute. Also, TrackPhone does a fun thing where it rounds up the minutes you use, right? So if you're in a phone call and you make one phone call and it doesn't answer, you get charged 1 minute, which can actually add up pretty quickly. So I would not recommend TracFone personally. But if you want to use TracFone, you can. But I would not recommend TracFone. What I would recommend, and I think you'll end up spending this amount of money per month anyway, is Ultra Mobile, which is what I use. And again, you don't have to use Ultra. It's just what I use. I pay $19 a month, and that's the base plan. You can get better ones, but I pay $19 a month for unlimited talk and unlimited texting. I mostly do texting. So the unlimited texting was sort of that was the deal breaker for me, was the unlimited texting, or the deal maker, I guess you could say. For me, was the unlimited texting, because I text a lot, and we text a lot at work here for communications reasons. We just have to know what's happening. So we text a lot back and forth. Some of us don't text as much as we should, but we text a lot back and forth. I have friends who text, right? Family, whatever. So texting is a lot more important than you may think. You know, sometimes we think, oh, we don't need unlimited texting. I don't send 4,000 texts a month. You'd be surprised, actually, because it seems like when you don't even think about it when you have it. But when you don't have unlimited texting, you will immediately notice and you'll wish you had it again. So I would go for a plan which has unlimited talk and text, which these days is like pennies because it's so cheap for cell service these days. It's incredibly cheap for cell service these days because all the towers are implemented now. So all they have to do is maintenance. I'm talking about the cell companies. All they have to do is maintenance and just maintaining the system. And that's about it, because they're not really putting up a whole lot of new cell towers until a new standard comes out. And even then, they can keep the same towers and just change out the infrastructure on the inside. So the towers can stay the same. So there's a lot of development coming in the cell market, but the base idea remains the same. Think about this. 3G. How long has 3G been around? Like 2005, I think. It's been a long, long time since 3G came out. And we've only just gotten 4G. And the new generation 5G is not yet out. And it's supposed to be getting us a gigabit per second over mobile data, which is cool. But I don't think a whole lot of people are going to be using that kind of speed on mobile data connections. So it's probably going to be shared across different phones. But I digress. You get the idea. So it's a weird system. The cell phone market is very weird. But here's something that I've noticed that I wanna stress this, and I should have done it before Christmas, but I just didn't think about it. But now I can, because I thought of it. Here's what we've got. And this happens at Black Friday too. Whenever there's a big blowout sale of all these cool, cheap things, you're actually probably not getting the best product. You're not getting the one that you may think you're getting. Okay, for instance, Black Friday is a great opportunity to sell off this year's stock, because the next year is coming up. That's why these sales happen. It's not because they're nice, right? The retailers are nice and they want to sell you a bunch of cool stuff for really cheap. That's not what it is. It's getting rid of the stock that they couldn't sell before. So that's why all these TVs are really, really cheap. They're basically selling them at wholesale prices plus a little bit of extra. And chances are you're going to buy more things when you're at the store anyway. So it's like free advertising, essentially. Black Friday is great for retailers in a lot of ways. And I'm not knocking the retailers. That's fine. That's a great business practice, right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing, like a lot of people like to for some reason. I think it's kind of not so great for the people who have to work, right? On Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. It's kind of annoying for the people who have to go into work the day after Thanksgiving. I understand. But that's just how the cookie crumbles, right? That's business. That's how it works. And somebody's got to work there. So no sense in complaining. Granted, I've never worked retail, but I know people who have, and they all complain about working on Black Friday. So I get it's a pain and it's annoying. And maybe you've worked on Black Friday, so I get that it's not fun. But anyway, the reason that Black Friday happens is there's a lot of stock that just doesn't get sold. So it's not like they send in a whole huge shipment of things to sell on Black Friday and they're really excited to sell you these great new things at really low prices. Now, you're going to be getting last year's and this year's stock, which couldn't be sold. And for TVs, that's usually kind of okay, actually, because TVs have kind of stayed the same standard for a long, long time now. And we're probably still going to be using 1080p TVs for at least a few more years. And if you're like me, you haven't actually upgraded to a 1080p TV because you watch everything on your computer anyway. So if you really want to get a 1080p TV, HD, full HD, and all that fun stuff, Black Friday is not the worst way to get it. Granted, you'll have to deal with the crowds, but if you like that, right, there's people who get the adrenaline rush from the whole Black Friday thing. I get it. But again, you're not getting the brand new cool thing. Like chances are, In fact, I was reading the other day about computers. Now, if you still buy, desktop computers and lower end laptops and that sort of thing, when you buy one on Black Friday, you're not getting the best one because the ones they sell on Black Friday are the base model, right? They're not the ones with the cool features. They've got the least amount of RAM, right? They've got the lowest end processor in there. All the specs are not as good as the higher end model because these are the ones they couldn't sell during the year, right? So nobody wants the Intel Atom laptop with 1 gig of RAM, right? If you know what I mean. Nobody wants that. But if it's suddenly $100 for this Intel Atom laptop with 1 gig of RAM, suddenly that becomes very attractive, right? I would buy that right now. I would drop the money on a $100 Intel Atom laptop with 1 gig of RAM. I actually totally would. If it was $100, I would drop it. So that's the mentality, right? We love sales. Case in point, and this is some sales tips, I guess. Case in point, this is perfect. Steam is a game selling company. Steam sells games. That's what it does. And when Steam has a sale, and Steam always has sales, oftentimes it's like 75% off because if something's over $15 and it's a game, I'm probably not going to buy it. And that's kind of the funny thing. Like $15 for some reason seems to be the cutoff point. And that seems to be a generational thing too, where $15 is just, it seems expensive for a game. If a game is more than 15, I get kind of skeeved out, especially if it's an older game, like from 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm like, I'm not going to spend $15 on this, But if suddenly it's a bundle, $15 for 3 games, hey, I'll do that. Why not? I get Jedi Outcast and I'll get Jedi Academy and I'll get The Force Unleashed all in one cool package. So why not? And that's how that works. So you get a lot of that mentality when you look at Black Friday and Cyber Monday too. It's just selling off stock. And the online retailers have so much stock to sell off. You have no idea. Overstock has so much stuff. Amazon has so much stuff to sell off. The fulfillment centers are basically full of stuff they're trying to sell but couldn't this year. So Black Friday is a very clever marketing thing. You're not benefiting from it as nearly as much as the retailers are. But that's okay, right? That's fine. That's just business. And that's just how it rolls. So if you're fine with that, go ahead, participate in Black Friday, and I'll stay home and have hot chocolate or whatever. But the one thing that I wanted to get to is Christmas, because everyone wants the tech gadgets for Christmas, right? Like, everyone wants it. So what can we do to make sure we get the best tech gadgets for Christmas? And this is going to be sort of an odd thing. You might want to wait actually until after Christmas to get the next new cool thing, especially if it's a phone. Because let's think about this. When did the iPhone 6 Plus come out, right? It wasn't that long ago, but I'm wanting to say it was sometime in the summer or fall this year. Well, that means that in a few months, the new iPhone is going to come out because it's a yearly thing, pretty much. It's mostly a yearly thing. So you'll have the iPhone 6S or whatever the new model is going to be coming out soon-ish. So now, because you bought the phone for Christmas, you're stuck with the older model, and the new one's going to come out in a few months. Oh, you see the dilemma. It's better to wait until the gadget has freshly come out to buy it, even if we're talking about months, because the smartphone market moves incredibly quickly. If you were around in the computer days, in the computer market back in the 90s, you'll remember how fast things moved. Think about 1990 to 1999. Things moved incredibly quickly in the space of 9 years. So that's how the smartphone market is right now. It's moving so quickly. So the best tip to get a new smartphone is actually, oddly enough, to wait until it has just come out. And Christmas time is usually not the best time for that, surprisingly enough. You'll see a lot of Christmas specials, but usually it's selling off the last model or the one that's just about to be replaced. So you got to keep that in mind when we're talking about buying smartphones. I played, and this is not bragging, this is just because I read up on it. I played it kind of smart when I bought my Moto G. Granted, it was out of necessity because I broke my Lenovo, what was it, A850. But whatever. So my Moto G, I bought close to launch day. It was like the week after launch day is when I bought my Moto G. So that means I'll have the newest Moto G until the new one comes out same time next year, which is in a few weeks, right? So now I have the new model and I can just buy the other new model, and then you can actually trade in your phone too to get some money back, and I'll spend maybe $200 on a new phone. So $200 every year for a phone is not terrible when you think about it. especially because we can use the same chargers and accessories with the newer phone. $200 a year is not that bad, all things considered, right? Like, how much do you pay for your water bill, and how much do you pay for electricity, and all these different things? So $200 for a smartphone every year really is not that bad at all, considering what you're getting. It's basically a steal when you think about all the things you can do with your smartphone, all the money-making opportunities you have with your smartphone. You can make your smartphone pay for itself, right? Especially if you run a small business and you use your smartphone to manage, say, your social media accounts and your online marketing. Your phone will pay for itself if you're using it for those purposes. So $200 to drop on a phone is like nothing. If you're not making $200 in the course of the year, perhaps you should rethink your business strategy. Anyway, so $200 for a new phone every year is really not that bad. Now, I don't like to spend more than that on a smartphone. If it's like 300, I get uncomfortable when we're talking about smartphones. I guess because I don't see a whole lot of reason for me to get the highest end one, because I know it's going to be outdated soon and I'll just have to buy the new model. You have to think about that when we're thinking about smartphones. There are really, really expensive smartphones and they're really cool, but they're also really expensive. And the new one's going to come out next year. Like when you buy the Nexus 6 or 7, whichever's the new one, I think 7 is the new one. When you buy the Nexus 7, the 8's coming out 2016, right? So you're now suddenly outdated. And especially with smartphones, you don't want to have the last model. This is the first time, actually, by the way, I've ever had a current smartphone with this Moto G. It's the first time I've ever actually had a current smartphone. And going from the old one to the new one, I do have to say, especially on Android, it's definitely worth it. Going from the old to the new, it's an eye-opening experience. It's actually surprisingly, the difference is surprising. You'd be shocked, especially if you're going from, say, a 5S to a 6. It's surprisingly new, right? Especially if you go from a 5C, an iPhone 5C to an iPhone 6 Plus. The difference is pretty amazing. So if you're thinking about upgrading, you might want to consider it, but never, ever, ever go over budget. If you feel uncomfortable spending the money on a new smartphone, that's okay. Don't. You don't have to spend money on a new smartphone if you don't want to. There's no one pressuring you. At least there shouldn't be anyone pressuring you to get a new smartphone. It's totally fine to wait until you can afford it. And I think maybe that's the message that I have is with all these new deals, right? And the Black Friday and the Cyber Monday and all the flash sales and all the fire sales and all this stuff, it's okay to wait until you can afford it. Because I know, and I've been in this situation before, you'll be out a lot of money if you spend more than you intended to just because it was on sale. You know, even if it's over budget and it's still on sale, it's still over budget. So don't spend more money than you have. It's never a good idea. If you don't want to put it on your credit card, you feel uncomfortable doing it, then don't. A new TV is not a necessity. A brand new phone is not a necessity. It's a luxury. So don't spend more money than you have. Despite all these cool sales and everything, you know what? The opportunity is going to be there again. When we're talking about fire sales, oftentimes people say, oh, this opportunity will never come up again. Yes, it will, because that's how retail works. It's the same cycle every single year. Black Friday's been the same since 2007, at least, with the smartphone market. It's always going to be that way. That's just how it is. So don't worry about waiting when it comes to spending money. It's okay, right? Especially if it's a luxury item, TVs, whatever, a computer, a new phone. Wait until you can afford it. There's no shame in that whatsoever. That's called spending smart. That's being smart with your cash. And I'm a big advocate of that, actually. You know, surprisingly enough, I always talk about the gadgets and I always talk about the new cool stuff, but you know what? It's actually kind of worth it to save your money, and maybe you'll find something else that's more worth your cash sometime later on. So keep that in mind, I guess. Think positive for this new year, because this new year, there are a lot of things that are looking up. Think about it this way. We talk about how bad the world is right now. It's actually a lot better than it has been in the last 80 years. Population has been growing pretty significantly, and someone say it's a terrible thing. I wouldn't say so. We live in much better conditions than we did 80 years ago. Our grandparents lived in much worse conditions. In fact, when our grandparents were alive, your chances of dying in war were much higher. There's no draft. There's no conscription. Things are actually kind of cool right now, especially when you look at all the new tech that's making our lives that much easier. Things are kind of okay. And yeah, we had pretty bad flooding, but I was okay. I hope you were okay. And I hope your power didn't go out. But even if it did, it's probably back on now. So things really aren't that bad, amazingly enough. This is Albino here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5preparedness.com.
Lay your burdens down at the Woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door. Just take some time. We're transforming lives.
Happy holidays at the Wood. From the Woodhouse Day Spa. Holiday gift cards available at chattanooga.woodhousespas.com.
You have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party, then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef, oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store, CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, the largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe this Christmas by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Happy not rainy for once Tuesday. This is Binary here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Although, unfortunately, I have to mention, we are expecting rain for tomorrow. Oh, well, I know. And hopefully we don't get swept away. We have a parking lot here. Obviously, we've got a parking lot here, and it tends to get kind of wet, kind of mushy, you might say, to the point where it's like up to my ankles sometimes when I'm walking out to my car, because for some stupid reason, I always park really far away from buildings. I always do that too. I always park really far away from buildings. I don't know why I do it. Like when I go to Walmart, on the rare occasions, I'll park the farthest away from the building that I can. I don't know why I do it. I just do. When I go to the mall, right? I go to Hamilton Place Mall and I'll go to the Barnes & Noble. I will park the farthest possible away, or the farthest away possible, I should say, from the building. I don't know why I do it. And I did it yesterday when it was pouring down rain. I was trying to get the Raspberry Pi magazine, actually, oddly enough, Magpie magazine. I was at Barnes & Noble trying to get it. They don't have the new one, whatever. I parked like 100 yards away from the building, and it was stupid. I shouldn't have done that, but I always do it every single time. So I've come up with something. Actually, by come up with something, I mean I thought of something that someone else has already done. There actually is a way to find your car, because I always lose mine because I park way far away from the building. In fact, one time I lost my car when I parked here at work, and that's a funny story for another day. Yeah, that was weird, actually. I don't remember how I did that, but yeah. So you're wanting to find your car that you lost. Well, this is a funny, just easy, stupid, simple tip that you can use. Maybe take a photo of your car, actually, where it's parked, and especially if you're near one of those lights that has a number on it, hey, guess what? Take a photo of it, and it's on your phone, so you can use it as a reference point to find your car. You probably thought of it already, but I didn't, and thankfully I did yesterday because I knew where my car was. It was at aisle 7 or wherever in Hamilton Place. Most big parking lots will have those street lights that have the numbers on them. That's actually what they're for, so you can find your car. So take a photo of it with your smartphone, because everyone has one, and you'll be able to easily find your car without having to walk down every single aisle while it's pouring down rain and you're up to your ankles, because for some reason Hamilton Place Mall has no drainage whatsoever for their parking lots. And when you open the car door, a bunch of water gets in and your shoes are all wet and they slip off the brake pedal and you rear end that lady, who totally was in the wrong, by the way, and the cop harassed you, and it's a bad story for everybody. But that's just me. So if that happens to you, take a photo and it won't happen. So all of this could be avoided just by taking a photo of your car when you're parking. But that's just me. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're everywhere. You can listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. If you go to the website there, hotnewstalkradio.com. You can also get us, by the way, on TuneIn, the TuneIn radio app for your smartphone, which I know pretty much everyone uses, oddly enough. I know, and I have seen quite a few people using the TuneIn radio app just out in the wild. And I was kind of surprised. I do a lot of people watching. It's one of my hobbies. And I noticed that people oftentimes are using the TuneIn radio app, and I didn't think that many people knew about it. Maybe it's because I'm telling them about it that they know about it, but whatevs. The TuneIn radio app is a great way to listen to us here at Hot News Talk Radio, believe it or not. All you got to do, open up your app store. I'll do it with you, actually. Why not? I got my smartphone right here. Let's unlock it with my super secret 4-digit password that's totally not a reference to Blade Runner. Go to my app store. Here we go, the Play Store. And wait for it to load, because it just got an update. It's really slow. Go to Google Play Store. You can do this on your app store, on your iPhone or your BlackBerry. Heaven help you if you have a BlackBerry. It's 2015. Come on. Go to the app store, and I'll search for TuneIn. Okay, there she is, the TuneIn radio app. And all I got to do is hit install. It'll start installing. Obviously, I've already got it installed, so I'll just hit open. It should only take a few seconds to install, though, unless you're on a data connection. I would not recommend, by the way, installing apps on a data connection. That's one more tip from me to you. If you can wait before you get to Wi-Fi to download an app, I would do it, actually, because I've used up a lot of data without realizing it because I was installing an app, and I don't have unlimited data. So, yeah. But anyway, on the TuneIn radio app, you can listen to us on Hot News Talk Radio. And the fun thing is, there are some services on TuneIn where you subscribe for premium and you'll get NFL. Well, guess what? We actually have NFL and NASCAR on Hot News Talk Radio on the TuneIn radio app. So you don't have to pay, right? You don't have to pay anything extra. You don't have to pay anything to get NFL and NASCAR with us here at Hot News Talk Radio on the TuneIn Radio app. Hey, caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
I got a couple questions for you.
Hit me.
First of all, is it true that the BlackBerry is more secure than every other phone out there, and that's why the government people use it? That supposedly the encryption doesn't allow anyone to break through, or is much more difficult than a regular phone. That's number one. And number two, have you heard anything about Verizon's new Wi-Fi phone system, whereby as T-Mobile, you can make phone calls through your Wi-Fi? I know they were saying that's coming out by the end of the year, next year. And I'll listen on the radio. I didn't know if that was available yet. All right, thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, the system that Verizon is using is actually not anything new. What it does is, and it's kind of like a lot of other phone carriers that have been doing this already, especially in Europe, this is pretty popular. What happens, what the caller's talking about with the Verizon phone system is, this is a special service that I don't think has come out yet in the US. I know it's available in Europe, but I don't think it's available yet in the US. You'll notice sometimes when you're driving around, you'll see Verizon hotspots, like Wi-Fi hotspots pop up. Well, this system will exploit that. So when you make a phone call, instead of using the cell phone network, it'll use these Wi-Fi hotspots. So maybe you're out of range of a cell tower, but you have Wi-Fi available. In fact, a lot of larger cities will have Verizon hotspots all over the dang place. If you walk around downtown Chattanooga and you open up your Wi-Fi, I guarantee you'll see some Verizon hotspots. You'll see AT&T Wi-Fi. You'll see a lot of EPB-Fi. That pops up a lot. Unfortunately, I don't think that's covered with the Verizon system. But what the Verizon system will do is it's the same thing as GSM. Essentially, it's the same routing system that GSM uses, except it'll route it to Wi-Fi instead of a cell phone tower. This is a special thing. You have to have Wi-Fi on your phone. I don't think that's been rolled out yet. There's not been a whole lot of press about it, interestingly enough. But as soon as it does, of course, we'll be talking about it a little bit more here on Binary on Hot News Talk Radio. But that's the new system that Verizon is rolling out, and that'll help you out with your data connections too. Essentially, and I'm not sure if this is the case or not, but I think they're going to be Verizon. I mean, they are going to be contracting different businesses to use Verizon hotspots so that people can use them inside cafes and different retail outlets, and you get the picture. Different venues will be using it. Verizon and T-Mobile especially have been doing this thing where they're trying to target young people. Have you noticed the Go 90 campaign, where it's like viral videos put on this new service called Go 90 that's got ads with bright flashing neon colors? They're trying to appeal to young people, and it really doesn't. I think it's going to be a failure, Go 90. I cannot imagine that's going to attract many young people. I could be wrong. Maybe my generation is more gullible than I thought, but I don't think that's going to be attracting a whole lot of people, the whole Go 90 thing. But that's a story for another day. As for the BlackBerries, this kind of an interesting and convoluted story about BlackBerries, but we'll touch on it very briefly. With the BlackBerries, yeah, they actually are pretty secure. The reason is BlackBerries have a really nice operating system, which can be encrypted. And the government contracted Research in Motion, the manufacturer of BlackBerries, which is a Canadian company, actually. Steve Wozniak was a pretty heavy developer and investor in Research in Motion, by the way. He's the co-founder of Apple. Research in Motion was contracted by the Defense Department to produce a lot of BlackBerries. That being the case, there are still a lot of BlackBerries which are in military use. Military personnel, senators, congressmen will get issued these cell phones with the assurance, relative assurance, that they're speaking over encrypted communications when they're speaking into these BlackBerry phones and using the Wi-Fi and whatever. So I'm not sure if it's true that BlackBerries are inherently more secure. It's just that the government has set up a bunch of different standards for these particular contracted BlackBerries, which a lot of different politicians use. A lot of people who work with the government and in the government use these BlackBerries. Again, I don't know if BlackBerries are inherently more secure than Android phones or iPhones. It's that these government contracted BlackBerry phones are more secure, right? So you see the difference? It's like, think about it this way. Let's say Chevy gets contracted to make a whole bunch of cars for the U.S. government. These Chevy cars are obviously going to be built to government standards and with more security than your average consumer car. So that's not to say that Chevy cars are more secure than other cars. It's that the government contracted ones are. You see the difference? So that's what's sort of going on with a BlackBerry. BlackBerry is a fine standard, and it's a really nice platform. It's just kind of outdated, and it doesn't have a whole lot of support nowadays. There's nothing really wrong with BlackBerry. especially in the earlier days, BlackBerry was, I would say, better than the iPhone. And I say that completely unironically. I really do believe the BlackBerry was initially better than the iPhone when the iPhone came out, the first generation iPhone. Things have gotten better since then. BlackBerry is actually coming out with an Android phone that I cannot see that working out very well. It's got a physical keyboard that slides out. I cannot see that appealing to the mass market. That's going to be a thing where a few enthusiasts, people who would be interested in it like me, are going to buy it. And the average consumer is going to be buying what the average consumer knows, which is Samsung, Apple, Motorola, whatever. It's going to stay the same. I can't see BlackBerry coming back into the market with a big splash, and that's probably not going to happen, as much as I wish it would, because BlackBerry is a cool company. Research in Motion is really cool. Unfortunately, filed for bankruptcy not too long ago. There have been some scandals before with the emails being leaked and not being secure and all sorts of other things. But overall, again, BlackBerry is really cool, and it used to be even cooler. So the government uses a lot of BlackBerry phones. That's no secret. But again, that's because government has contracted Research in Motion to give them a whole bunch of different BlackBerries. So no, BlackBerries are not inherently more secure than your average smartphone. I'm sure sometime in the future there are going to be smartphones, and BlackBerries are smartphones, by the way. I'm sure sometime in the future there are going to be touchscreen general candy bar smartphones that are going to be government contracted that'll be inherently more secure than your average consumer smartphone. So to answer the question the caller had, no, BlackBerries are not inherently more secure. It's just the government contracted ones are. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks for calling. By the way, the number to call in is 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949 is the number to call in if you have any questions, comments, whatever about computers, smartphones, tablets, laptops, all sorts of cool things here. Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com as well. And be sure to check us out on the TuneIn Radio app and on YouTube as well, where we're streaming live with video on YouTube. That's Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube. So I've been giving out a lot of different tips about buying smartphones, about how to get a smartphone for a good price and where to get one, right? All the different retailers. Here's something that I've noticed, especially with Motorola, that I've noticed that you might want to consider. A lot of people, because they don't know any different, will buy electronics from not even a big box retailer, but will buy their electronics from a retail outlet that is a chain, right? Like just to name a few, Best Buy, Walmart, Circuit City, Staples, all these different locations where one would normally buy a laptop. And something that I would recommend is price comparisons. This is something that is very important to getting a good price on an electronic device, especially nowadays where pricing is kind of important because everybody seems to be strapped for cash nowadays. The economy's, not doing so great, right? And is probably not going to be doing very good for a long, long time, but whatever, things could change. The point being, when you're looking for a new laptop, when you're looking for a new smartphone, a new tablet, whatever, do price comparisons. You can surprise yourself sometimes how much of a deal you can make. And sometimes $20 doesn't seem like that much, especially when you're looking at prices of 100 or so, or over 100. But hey, why not? It's $20 is $20, right? That's like 8 cups of coffee you can buy, or one from Starbucks. So think about that. So for price comparisons, what would I recommend? Well, Amazon, oddly enough, has a really cool service where you can scan a barcode on an item in a retail store and see what the price for that is on Amazon. Now, I want to make something kind of clear. I support 100% supporting local businesses, right? You should always buy with cash at a local business if at all possible, which is a weird thing to say, always if at all possible, but you should always buy from a local retailer with cash. Now, chains are a little bit different, right? But you're still talking about people who are local, who are employed. Think about it this way. If Best Buy exclusively catered to people who would walk in and then scan barcodes and then leave, the Best Buy retailer local here would go out of business, and all the people who work there, say 40, 50 people, would suddenly be out of a job. So we don't want that to happen. We want to stimulate the local economy. But you have to keep in mind, too, that we're also kind of strapped for cash. So if we're talking about phones, the best way to buy a phone is actually online. Especially if we're talking about good prices. To buy a phone online is to save a heck of a lot of money, especially if you buy straight from the manufacturer. Motorola is really good about that. And again, I know it seems like I'm shilling for Motorola because I use a Moto phone, but I'm really not. I'm not being paid by Motorola to say anything. I'm just saying from personal experience, this is my take on it. Motorola is really good about buying straight from the retailer. Apple, you can buy iPhones straight from the Apple Store on apple.com. Same goes for the laptops. You're going to save a significant amount of money doing it that way when compared to buying it from one of the tech stores that are, a chain tech store here. So keep that in mind. You actually are going to save a significant amount of money because a lot of the electronics retailers have a very big markup. It's not terrible, but it is considerable, right? So you can do what some people will call window shopping or showrooming, which is the more proper term for it, where you go to a retail store, look around, compare prices, see the physical item, and then buy it online. And that's really annoying to the businesses, right? That's really, really annoying to the retailers, but that is something you can do. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not something you should do all the time, but it is something that you can do. Showrooming really, really makes retailers mad. And I know it seems like it's not a big deal if it's like Best Buy, but you do have to keep in mind that these different businesses do employ local people. So keep that in mind. And of course, buying with cash is always the better option. I was reading the other day to get sort of a more enthusiast take on it. I was reading the other day about a guy who was trying to be entirely anonymous on the internet. What he did was he went to Best Buy actually, and he bought, and again, I'm not being paid by Best Buy. I'm just throwing the name out there because it's a retailer that we're all familiar with. He went to Best Buy and he bought a Chromebook with cash, right? So there's no record of the purchase aside from the receipt which he received and the receipt which the retailer kept, which has no name attached to it. Of course, you can see the surveillance footage of him buying it if anyone were to open an investigation, but whatever. He bought a Chromebook with cash and then used a installation of, I believe, Tails to use Tor exclusively. He routed all of his communications through a VPN, virtual private network, and then set up a alternate identity essentially on the internet. He bought IDs for this fake identity, and he had a passport and bills and all sorts of other things for this fake identity. And it was astounding actually how not hard it was to do. So if one guy who was a writer for, I believe, Ars Technica can do it, the regular person can do it too. It's sometimes shockingly easy to subvert the system in different ways. It's surprisingly easy sometimes. And of course, you can't use that laptop to do anything other than use your secret identity, right? Like you can't use that laptop to then go and browse Facebook on your personal account. That would be a really, really bad idea. So keep that in mind. One way that actually I've noticed something that retailers do is QR codes all over the dang place. And maybe you don't recognize them when you see them, but a QR code is this little box that has black in them. It looks like a 3D barcode, essentially, or a barcode that's a square instead of a rectangle. And it's got really thick black squares in it. And then it'll have a black square in the upper left-hand corner that's sort of like a trapezoid-looking thing. And it's a QR code, right? Like it's hard to explain what a QR code is if you haven't seen one. But what you can do is you can actually scan those with your phone, and sometimes they'll lead to coupons. If you're in the paper, I've noticed this a lot actually. If you're reading the newspaper, there'll be stickers on them on the front page that actually have QR codes on them. You can scan them, take them to the store, and use it as a coupon, which is really cool. So you can keep coupons in your phone, which is a really neat way of doing it because you can actually scan someone's phone with a barcode scanner. So it does work. So there's a lot of neat ways to exploit these different coupons because if you can, why not? And I'm not saying you should be extreme couponer, right? The guy who gets money back somehow from the cash register because they used a bunch of coupons and bought 2,000 rolls of toilet paper and 20,000 bags of cat food because that's all you ever need, I guess. I'm not saying you should be like that, but you could totally save a reasonably significant amount of money just by using coupons on your phone. It's surprising, but it actually does work. Groupon has apps for that. Living Social has an app where you can use coupons in retail stores. So there's a lot of different things you can do to use coupons. In fact, when I buy pizza, I never buy pizza without using a coupon. You would be amazed all the different coupons there are, actually. Just as an example, so you're buying from Papa John's, you can get so many different coupons online. I see ones that are like, buy one large topping pizza, get another one free. You save a heck of a lot of money because buying two large topping, large pizzas with one topping is going to cost like $6,000 because for some reason pizzas are really expensive. I don't think pizza prices have changed. So that means with inflation, pizzas were even more expensive back in the 90s, which is weird to think about, but whatever. The pizza market is a very stable thing, I guess. We can always bet on pizza. Maybe I should invest in Pizza Hut or something. But anyway, you can use coupons with different pizza retailers, and my gosh, you can get so much stuff for not free, but sometimes reduced price. So coupons when you buy pizza, always, never not use a coupon. You should always, always, always use a coupon when you're buying pizza because you can save so much dang money. You can get free stuff too. It's great for parties, right? Where you get, free breadsticks or whatever, half price, 50% off. I see sometimes on your total purchase if it's over 20, which is really, really cool. So it's a ploy to get you to spend money, but you also get more stuff for a lower price. So, it's cool. That's just how business works, because in the business world, the consumer, in terms of saving money, oftentimes does not win. But in terms of supporting the local economy, that's a win, isn't it? Because we're supplying local people with local jobs so that they can go to locally. So they can put money on the table and actually have a good Christmas and a happy New Year and all that fun stuff. So as Mr. Tulis likes to say, David Tulis on the David Tulis Show here on Hot News Talk Radio, love your neighbor and buy a local. And you can even do that in the tech sector. In the tech markets, there are lots of apps which can help us love our neighbor and buy local. Think about Uber, right? There's Uber for this or that. In fact, I was reading about an app called Protector that is, and it's not rolled out yet, but it's sort of like Uber Cop. It's like a PI service, I guess, like a private eye service, where you can actually hire someone with an app to investigate. And it's really kind of odd, but Uber for is like the prefix that the media has made up, where it's Uber for this or that. So you pay a driver to go and do something and bring it to you. One that I see a lot is actually groceries. There are lots of different services that'll supply groceries. I see one that we have locally, actually, that will deliver food to you for a slightly higher price than normal to pay the driver, so you don't have to go out and do it yourself. So lots of cool little services are out there for us to exploit and to use, right, for our own home use and for our own pleasure. The market's a funny thing because it's like we say, if there's a hole in the market, then the market will fill it. If there's a market for it, it will exist, whether legally or not. Uber opened up a huge market for all sorts of little things because people realized I can have someone deliver X to my house. I can have somebody deliver, I don't mean ecstasy, the drug. You can have somebody deliver a pizza to my house, which has already been done. You can have somebody deliver my groceries to my house. You can have somebody deliver Chinese to my house, which I do a lot, actually. So there's all sorts of fun little things that as soon as people realized the market was there, the market filled those holes. And that's one of the cool things about the free market system. And Chattanooga really does cater to that. We live in a really cool place for it. And I really love living here, especially in the greater metropolitan area. It's a really nice place to live, and we should be thankful that we do live here. So I'm really excited for the new year. I'm really excited what's going to come. Keep in mind, there's going to be rain tomorrow. Hopefully no floods. But if, of course, severe weather happens, tune into Hot News Talk Radio, and we will keep you updated and informed right here. Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, hotnewstalkradio.com.